I've been in situations, obviously I was active duty. I've been in military situations where if you don't get battle calls right, for instance, you do it over and over and over and over again until you get it right. So it could have been one of those situations. And to your point about the sack situation, if they put a hand on them, they blow the play dead. That's a sack. That counts as a sack. So, I agree. It's just the timing of it got a lot of people up in arms, so I'm not really 10 plays. Who cares? It's practice.
And two, LB, they could be working on things. I mean, okay,
right.
You're trying to get all these pieces. And as I've told you before, you're trying to work. It's like bringing in new superstars and trying to figure out there's one football, there's one basketball. Over 10 plays. And I want to get to my friend Lord Brunson here. LB, I appreciate you coming aboard. By the way, man, I know I was watching you. You were looking at that list. What do you make of that there? These 10 guys, I'll read them off to you again. Dak at 10, Deshaun Watson 9, Russell Wilson 8, Justin Herbert 7, Matthew Stafford 6, Joe Burrow 5, Tom Brady 4, Josh Allen 3, Patrick Mahomes. This is not my list, by the way. Number 2, and Aaron Rodgers number 1. NFL executives, all 32, put these top 10 together. What do you make of it?
I mean, you really can't argue with the names on the list. The only one guy that I would kind of have a debate for not being on the list is Dak, and replacing him with Lamar. That's the only thing that I could really see, because just like I heard you mention that, it's not a lot of running quarterbacks on the list, but Lamar is a superstar. He brings so much other stuff to the table. I mean, how can you have a top 10 without Lamar Jackson? But I'm not mad at the list. Dak is a phenomenal quarterback as well, but Lamar should probably have that spot if it's up to me.
And you could maybe try to sneak in Derek Carr somehow, because I think Carr's been a heck of a quarterback the last couple of years, and he's always in the top 10 with numbers. But again, like you said, I think you could throw all these names in, and you can have them sit there at any spot there and kind of change the order up. All right.
I agree.
I want to get your perspective on this. And first, let me bury the lead here with you on this. And so that stuff that was reported, and again, Derek Gunn, who we have on our channel, and he said that someone told him in a 10-play drive, and this is a sequence of a practice, which is traditionally about an hour and 45 minutes. So three picks, 3 sacks, incompletions. And again, how you get a sack on 7-on-7 or in a team drill like that, they probably have the stopwatch. And if you get past 3 seconds, LB, they call it a sack if you don't get rid of the ball. I said this. It's 10 bad plays. Tom Brady had 10 bad plays. His third practice, Bruce Arians told me.
I agree.
Big deal or no deal? What you were watching this story
not really a big deal. So first of all, I want to say, Gunn has been, at this for a long time. I got a lot of respect for Gunn. So I never really questioned, me personally, the validity of what he was saying. I just think the big gripe with a lot of Philadelphia fans right now is the timing of it. This supposedly happened in May. We're hearing about this in July, and we got training camp coming up in 2 weeks. Because the average fan, everything the average fan has been hearing is how great he's been performing. You know what I mean? Then to hear this supposedly happened a month and some change ago, I think it kind of threw a lot of people for a loop. Now, I will say this. I'm not taking, into consideration anything negative is in terms of Jalen Hurts' development from 10 plays. You know what I mean? I'm not, that doesn't change anything for me, because I've been in situations, obviously I was active duty. I've been in military situations where if you don't get battle calls right, for instance, you do it over and over and over and over again until you get it right. So it could have been one of those situations. And to your point about the sack situation, if they put a hand on them, they blow the play dead. That's a sack. That counts as a sack. So, I agree. It's just the timing of it got a lot of people up in arms, so I'm not really 10 plays. Who cares? It's practice.
And two, LB, they could be working on things. I mean, okay, you're trying to get all these pieces. And as I've told you before, you're trying to work. It's like bringing in new superstars and trying to figure out there's one football, there's one basketball. You're trying to get everybody their touches. So you've got to work on chemistry. And sometimes that chemistry is going to lag a little bit, and you're going to be behind the clock a little bit. So 3 sacks, that doesn't really shock me with new personnel out there that you're trying to get everybody on the same page. Plus, they're trying to help them on reading more from 1 to 2 to 3. All of that is, look, I am a Jalen Hurts. I don't think, watch this. I question if Jalen's going to be the guy. However, the 10 plays mean absolutely nothing to me because it's 7-on-7 and it's mini camp. I mean,
I agree.
Helmets.
This is the thing, Sil. I'm perfectly fine with people questioning that because Jalen Hurts has left those questions unanswered.
You had a problem with the timing.
It's just the timing for me. The timing for me, and then not really understanding, the temperament of some of these young guys. So I'm 35. That makes me 10 years older than AJ Brown. I know how these guys operate. I know that they're going to go to social media and they're going to stir the pot. They're going to defend their guy. And to have it happen on social media makes it even bigger. This isn't 2002 when Twitter wasn't as big as it was when these type of things were happening. So when you come out with the timing, and then when you come out with a superstar wide receiver saying, no, that's not what happened, that ain't how it happened, it kind of makes everything look funky. You know what I mean?
Can I say this to you, though?
Yeah.
There's a part of me that goes like this about AJ and Lane Johnson. Hey, they jumped to their boys' side, and they were right there. Would you agree the one thing that we can all agree with is that Jalen Hurts has galvanized this entire roster and that locker room. And whether you think he's the guy or not, they're going to be going into training camp and into the fall as one unit.
Everything is being used as fuel for the playing field. And that's even our own media, even the things I say, the things you say, it will all be used as fuel for the greater good of the football team. And to see guys like Lane Johnson, who's won a Super Bowl, you know what I mean? Guy, he's top 10, top 5 in this position. To see guys galvanize around Jalen Hurts and to see guys show the support for Jalen Hurts, a guy that so many people are so unsure about, makes me feel better. So this would be my advice for all Philadelphia fans out there. You just get with it. Just hope for the best because the team believes in them. Ownership believes in them. They brung these pieces around them. So it would just behoove you to hope for the best as well. And we'll see where the chips fall.
I'm going to ask a couple questions here that I threw off everybody too, and I want to get your perspective on this here. Now, look, I'm going to set this up by doing this. James Bradbury, and you correct me if I'm wrong here. James Bradbury on a 1-year deal. Javon Hargrave, he's going into the final year of his contract. Fletcher has 1-year deal with the Eagles. Jason Kelsey is likely to retire. Lane Johnson probably has 2 years, 3 tops. We're looking at a lot of 1-year deals. Miles Sanders probably will not be re-signed when it comes to the offseason here. So we've got a lot of guys on prove-it deals. We got a lot of guys that if they want to get contract extensions, have to go in and really play well. And 3 years from now, who do you think has a better franchise, the Cowboys or the Eagles?
I think it's the Eagles, simply because, you still have Nakobe Dean on a rookie deal. You have Jordan Davis on a rookie deal. They'll still be on rookie deals in 3 years. A.J. Brown will still be locked up on his roster. You would have answered the safety question. I think that's a top priority for next year's draft. You know what I mean? We'll have a quarterback probably not signed. Well, depending on what Jalen Hurts does, you'll have rookie running backs. I think it's flat out the Philadelphia Eagles. The Dallas Cowboys don't like to spend money in the offseason for some strange reason. They like to tell us how much they're on Forbes. But so spend some money on some free agents. I just think they like to do it in the draft. So I think we'll be the ones that's going to continue to spend money. Listen, this is how I see it. So Howie Roseman is on the all-time high right now. And how do you keep staying like that? By doing what you did in the draft, getting young players and young stars and signing guys in free agency, saving money, pushing contracts down the end of the road. I think it's the Eagles' hand down simply because you still got Howie.
Do you think that A.J. Brown lives up to the $100 million 4-year contract that he signed when here? I don't think that Tyreek Hill is going to live up to $25 million because he's got a lesser quarterback than he had in Kansas City. Whatever you think of Tua, he's not that guy in KC.
Exactly.
A.J. Brown is a guy who's averaged only 68 catches and 998 yards in his 3 years at Tennessee. Now, remember, it's a different dynamic, Lord, than say, Deebo Samuel. And the fact is, his numbers are going to be more acceptable in Philadelphia because that's a predominantly run offense too.
Mm-hmm.
And in Philly, it's a predominantly run. So 1,000 yards and 70 catches and what he does with the yak, that's acceptable because of what he does in the run game also when blocking. Just your perspective now, do you think he lives up to this $100 million contract?
So it's for me, it's not so much living up to the contract because that's just the going rate for a top guy. You know what I mean? That's what you got to pay a top guy. But the fact is we got the right guy. So I think he lives up to it easily because just like you said, he had a season. He's one of the only wide receivers that I can think of that averaged 20 yards of reception in the last 3 years. I tried to find another guy. I couldn't find one. What does that tell me and you? That tells me that he's taking an 8-yard reception to the house. You know what I mean? He can do things like that. So he don't need to have a deep route tree. All you got to do is get the ball in his hands and he can make something happen. So I think he lives up to it. You know, our expectations in Philadelphia are pretty easy. Catch the ball if you're open. You know what I mean? And especially catch touchdowns if you're open. If you're doing that, you living up to it.
I think his big asset is going to be in the red zone. I think his physicality, the way that he gets off the ball and separation off the ball, something that the Eagles have struggled on mightily. Two things: red zone offense and the screen game. Right. I think you're going, and like you said, when he catches those little 8-yard catches, they're kind of like mini screens. You throw it to him in the slot. I'd like to see him more in the slot, actually, so that he could get more touches and more opportunities because he's a force, man. Once he catches that ball, I mean, his yards after the catch are some of the best numbers in the league. Let me ask you this one here. Who will be the Eagles' starting quarterback in 2024?
I think it's going to be Jalen Hurts. I think, you know, I got high hopes for Jalen Hurts this upcoming season. I really think that he can be, you know, that guy that, you know, wins his record for the passing yards in the season. So if Jalen Hurts takes not even crazy steps in the passing game, I always compare him to just having an arm of Jimmy Garoppolo. If you can do that with Devontae Smith, Quez Watkins, and A.J. Brown and Dallas Goedert, you know what I mean? You have a good chance of getting yourself a contract and being locked up this time next year. But it all depends on what Hurts does this year. So if I'm going to gamble, I'm going to say Jalen Hurts.
You know, I think you and I kind of broached this the last time. I'm telling you here, LB, if I see 3,800 yards and I see 27 touchdowns and I don't see a high interception turnover ratio, I may come to him with a 2-year, 3-year contract and say this to him. Hey, listen, we don't want to blow up the football team now. Because, look, here's the one thing I tried telling people. Tom Brady took haircuts, LB, his entire 20-year career in New England. Never was the highest paid guy. He took less money because he knew he needed other components on his football team to be able – and this is what Dallas's problem is right now. They got a boatload of money tied up in Zeke and in Dak. And some of the guys on deep – they're strapped against the cap here, where the Eagles are not against the cap. Plus, some of that money with Alshon Jeffries, it falls off. Plus, the cap is going to go up. Why not do this? If you see enough of an improvement, here's a 3-year contract, $30 million. You're roughly around what the salary cap number would be anyway for that if you franchise tagged them. You know what I mean? If you franchise tagged them, it's probably going to be $31 million right there.
I think it's going to be more than that.
Maybe 32, 33. It could be in that conversation there. Okay, so you sign him to a 3-year contract. Guy's making 1.1 now.
Right.
I mean, I don't think you could keep a $25 million wideout and a $50 million quarterback on your roster at the same time. We saw it in Green Bay. They couldn't keep Devontae. They had to ship his ass. Kansas City too.
That's a good point. So I think the way that you're thinking about it is you want him to improve, but you don't want him to turn into Patrick Mahomes after the season, because if something like that was to happen, then he could command the big money. So if he gives you 3,800 yards, you know, that's a good enough improvement for you personally, good enough improvement for me as well, then you can make a case to keep him at $29-30 million a year, which would be significantly cheaper than what guys like Josh Allen is going to get and Lamar Jackson. You know, those guys are going to break the bank. Jalen Hurts necessarily doesn't have that power right now to break the bank because he's a second-round pick. And there's still some questions. I think he takes a deal to stay playing with A.J. Brown. I think that was the big piece.
See, I don't think he's considered or looked at like Josh Allen and those guys. And
exactly.
So you don't have to rip it apart because, look, LB, his value isn't Philly. It's nowhere else, really. If he went on the open market, you're not going to have the Bears give him a $30 million contract. That's not – his value is in the development of what they've been doing with the team around him. That's where – like Dak, when Dak's big –
I agree.
Dak was not going to get $50 million on the open market, in my opinion, from anybody but Dallas. And they were basically negotiating with themselves. If you're Philly and you feel comfortable, like I said, 3,800 yards, 3,890, 28 touchdowns, and you win the division and you get into the postseason and win a wild card game, or, you win a divisional round game, now we're talking about doing this. Let's not upset this. Okay?
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Here's something else I want to throw at you here. And I asked this question yesterday, and everybody couldn't answer it. So I'm asking you here. On July 12th, do you think Howie Roseman made that trade with the Saints for a safety or for a quarterback next year? As of right now, today, what do you think he made that trade for?
Absolutely for a quarterback.
So
he absolutely made it for a quarterback.
In your opinion, you think Howie is in the market for a quarterback, and if Jalen, it's up to him this year to dispel him and to show him that he needs to change his direction. Is that what we're saying?
Exactly. That was a security blanket for a quarterback, because the quarterbacks coming out of this year's coming out of the draft that just passed, it wasn't that many of them, which is why guys like Carson Strong went undrafted. It wasn't a great pool of quarterbacks, if you ask me. Next year, the draft class should be a little deeper in that position. So I think Howie Roseman is looking at it from a multitude of things. Like, if Jalen Hurts pans out, then you can go get the best safety in the draft, or you can go get another cornerback. That way you don't have to pay Bradbury. You know what I mean? There's so many other things you can do with that first-round pick if Jalen Hurts pans out. Now, if Jalen Hurts doesn't pan out, you can re-sign Bradbury and you can go get another quarterback. You could keep a stout defense around, a younger quarterback and try to develop them. I have no doubt in my mind that was for a quarterback. It's Howie Roseman.
It is. As our boy Philly 500 says, it's Howie vision.
Exactly.
I'm hearing that Julio Jones has had some minor conversations with Philly, other teams too, obviously. Green Bay. I think the Raiders are in this conversation too. He may be looking to see what happens in training camp and maybe even the first part of the season. The wide receiving core, I don't think it's very deep. And here's why. Devontae goes down or AJ goes down, you're where you were a year ago. If AJ Brown goes down, you're kind of where you were last year. I get your second year in the system. Do they need more depth at that position?
I don't think so. I actually think we're pretty deep. Now you have a situation to where Rager is like your fourth guy. We keep forgetting about Pascal. Pascal can play. A lot of people like to think of him as just this run blocking bigger guy, but he's very effective in the red zone. So if you run into a situation to where Devontae goes down, you still got AJ, Pascal, and Rager. Nobody's really expecting much out of Rager. Now, if two of your starting wide receivers go down, that's a problem for every roster in the National Football League. But I think we're just as deep as they come. So AJ Brown wouldn't do it. I'm sorry. Julio Jones wouldn't do much but stunt the development of guys like Quez Watkins. Quez Watkins needs to be on the field as much as possible.
So you had a problem with when the report came out, just because it was 5 months ago. Hey, you know what, though? I'll tell you. There's one thing that I've learned. Anything that's said negatively about Jalen Hurts, people are jumping on that guy no matter what it is. Because I think they want to give him a fair shot because of Does this all go back to Carson Wentz?
It does.
What I mean by that is how it left and how he left and how it ended so horrifically that they really want to give this kid the chance to really succeed. Is that
because even myself, I often wonder what would have happened if we would have gave Carson Wentz another chance after that 4-12 season. You know what I mean? I think about that all the time. And,
with these weapons.
Exactly. With these weapons and where we are right now. But, this is the thing. This is Philadelphia. So when the report is out and there's something bad happening, we want it right then and there. We want it now. Like, you know what I mean? If you got a source, Dan, and he's telling you that this dude is stinking it up in practice, I want to turn on National the Football Show, and I want to hear Dan tell me that day. You know what I mean? I don't want to be hit with no surprises because we built the roster. We're all excited. We've been hearing great things about OTAs. Why is this coming out now? That was my only concern with it. I think it's true. I think it was a bad practice. I would never say Gunn would lie about something like that. I just think the timing of it is just a little, like, why now? I think that's the mindset of most of Philadelphia.
I agree. I mean, I hadn't realized that this was something that happened months ago.
Right, because my initial response
just happened a couple of days ago.
Exactly. I'm like, damn, we're practicing. I must be missing something. Then it turns out that this happened in May, and I do a little more research. This was an old report, from an old source. So it is what it is. But my biggest thing is when you're dealing with today's 23 and today's 25-year-olds, Dan, they're going to go to social media and defend themselves. I'm telling you. And these guys come with fan bases bigger than you and I.
So dude, no doubt. A.J. Brown was on that thing calling it bullshit from the go, man.
Exactly. He started talking about McNabb and T.O. He started doing his homework. What up, Vince Papal? I'm like, oh, my God. It's about to get dark. What's going on?
Did you like it as a media guy? Did you like it that he –
hell yeah.
Media?
Absolutely. I loved it because I didn't like when he did it with Miles. Then when he did it with Jalen Hurts, I said, this guy is prepared to go to war. He's prepared because he knows he got to back it up on the field. You know that now. You've talked a lot. You haven't even taken a snap with Philly. And I think he could back it up. We haven't had a T.O. guy like this in a while, Dan. Remember T.O. used to talk it? Nobody could guard me.
Hey, he's T.O. with a smile. Right? He's like T.O. with a smile here, man. So
exactly, man.
Love it, man. Hey, man, really appreciate your time, man. You're always awesome. Thank you so much for doing this, brother.
No doubt, man. I'm gonna hit you up, Dan. I got to get you on, man. I've been saying it, but I'm gonna make it happen.
I'm there for you. Call me. Let me know.
I got you, brother. All right, guys.
Man.